Welcome, fellow Kingdom Hearts fans. As you know, being a Kingdom Hearts fan leads to many fun worlds from Disney, and you get to see a lot of their characters. We've become familiar with all of them, but there is another company with many fun and iconic characters, a little company called DreamWorks. They've created so many unforgettable stories and fun characters that I figured, what if we mixed it up a bit today? Last time, we looked at which Disney characters following their film canon could make it through Kingdom Hearts on their own, without Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Now we're going to see which DreamWorks teams could clear Kingdom Hearts instead. Just like last time, I'll be following the films only, no video game tie-ins, and no television series. So if Shrek threw the sun into a black hole in something else other than the films, I'm not covering that. Now in case you haven't watched my last video, you should after this one. I'll quickly fly through the rules for this. Like I mentioned earlier, there will be three-man teams comprised of characters from their own films to go on this journey together. This is merely a gauntlet challenge and how they would do with the foes they would face along the way. We won't be covering how they travel to different worlds or how they seal keyholes. I'll also be using the characters when they were at the height of their strength. And I'll be starting them off in Traverse Town since that's when the three-man team of Sora, Donald, and Goofy were first formed. And just a quick side note, there will be spoilers for Kingdom Hearts as well as the DreamWorks films I'll be talking about, so just a heads up. Now let's jump into this crossover. First up, we'll be covering Po from Kung Fu Panda. He is the fierce dragon warrior and has defeated many great Kung Fu legends on his journeys, as well as learned Kung Fu from some of the best. And some of those who taught him will join him on his team. Those characters would be Master Shifu and Tigress. Now sometimes when creating these teams, not all would be capable fighters, but this team is stacked full of them. Shifu was Po's master and helped make him into the amazing warrior he is today. And Tigress, being one of the Furious Five, has mastered many levels of Kung Fu, and is Po's closest friend and has always been there for him. Except when it comes to the fourth movie. Now their Kung Fu isn't just your run-of-the-mill stuff. They're all extremely fast and powerful, being able to break cement, destroy buildings, completely incapacitate an opponent, and Po is a master of Chi. And with the Wuxi finger hold, he can send his opponents straight to the spirit world. He has also mastered inner peace, and by doing so can be in a state of zen where he can do stuff like redirect cannonballs. He can also use Oogway's staff to create a chi blast in the form of a dragon to use on his opponents. And because of Po's body, he's immune to certain attacks that target pressure points on his body. Now, how far do these three get? Firstly, Traverse Town Heartless are the most basic Heartless, so there is no need to worry there. Each can destroy hordes of these Heartless without a scratch on them. Guard Armor also won't put up much of a fight because these three are way too fast for Guard Armor to hit, and each of them could destroy a limb without the need of any help from the other teammate. Wonderland is in a similar spot to Traverse Town where the Heartless there are just too weak for them. Now with Hercules, that tournament would be a piece of cake. As for Cloud, win or lose it wouldn't matter as that is a fight you don't need to win. Cerberus, while being big and strong, wouldn't be able to keep up with their agility, and the three of them could break Cerberus's legs to stop him from moving around, and each of them could attack ahead. As for the fireballs Cerberus shoots out of his mouth, Po could just redirect those back at him. Deep Jungle can also be cleared because Stealth Sneak isn't as strong as any of these three in pure power, and its eye beams can be dodged. As for Clayton, that gun doesn't matter because they would rush him before he gets a shot off. Even one of them at close range can out-combat him. Clayton's more of a brawler, and he struggled with Tarzan, and these three are better in combat than Tarzan ever was. And even if Clayton did get a miraculous shot off, Po in theory should be able to redirect that bullet like he did with the cannonball. In Agrabah, Jafar isn't a match in the first fight for any of them, especially because they can jump extremely high, so Jafar floating above them shooting beams would do nothing. And Jafar isn't good at hand-to-hand combat. The minute one of them knocks that staff away, Po could finger hold Jafar and send him to the spirit world. Monstro's also an easy clear for them. Atlantica isn't necessary to complete to clear Kingdom Hearts 1, so it can be skipped, since they wouldn't be able to breathe underwater for too long and they wouldn't be able to transform into mer people. Halloween Town is also simple because Oogie isn't a good enough fighter to keep up with them, and when he turns giant, all three can easily reach and destroy his orbs. Neverland, same deal. Captain Hook and the Heartless can't match any of them in combat, and they would immediately just throw Hook overboard and let the Croc have at him. The same applies to Maleficent because even Dragon Maleficent is just a bigger target for them. She's too slow to be able to hit them, and it's not like Po hasn't fought against giant beasts before. As for Riku, he doesn't possess the same combat experience experience is those three. They could easily just juggle Riku through the air and then slam him into the ground. And finally, Ansem. The first few phases shouldn't be an issue, and at the flying segment, Po has experience with flying and fighting, and Tigress and Shifu should be skilled enough to figure out how to balance those techniques as well while in the air. Po can also, in a worst case scenario, Wuji Fingerhold himself or open up a gate to the spiritual world with the staff and fight Ansem inside there, where he has a huge advantage over him. Being able to harness Chi while in the spiritual plane and overload Ansem like he did against Kai, and if Shifu and Tigress couldn't join him in the spirit world, he still has allies in the spiritual plane who could show up and help him, like Oogway. Even some of his old foes could help him defeat Ansem, since they all respected him by the end of the fourth film. All in all, this is a powerhouse team and they could definitely clear the game. Now let's move on over to our favorite fearless hero. This team will comprise of Puss in Boots, Kitty Softpaws, and Death. Like the last team, all three have good fighting techniques and have a lot of combat experience under their belts. They also have many other advantages that will play to their benefit on this journey. Let me just address quickly why Death is on this team though. He's not a villain in the same way other characters are. He merely is after Puss because Puss doesn't value his life, and by the end of the film, Puss learns the value of it, and Death and him are cool with each other. Now, how many worlds can this team clear? Traverse Town and Wonderland are both simple enough with nothing that could out-combat the three of them. Cerberus can also be defeated because Puss has fought giant and strong monsters before and can run around the terrain without being hit, and counterattack when there's an opening. Puss is also able of pinpoint accuracy quite literally, and could stab Cerberus in his eyes, while the other two pile on the damage when he's blinded. Also, I know we're mixing lore here, but what I'm about to say is just too fun not to say. Imagine if Cerberus stands down when seeing Death. With him guarding the underworld, maybe Cerberus would know who he is and immediately give up and retreat. Clayton also wouldn't stand a chance, because Death could frontline against Clayton, and Kitty Softpaws could steal his gun right out from under him, leaving him defenseless for Puss to beat. As for Jafar, it would be the same strategy as Clayton, with Death as the frontline, Kitty stealing the staff, and Puss finishing him off. Kitty could also steal the lamp from Jafar entirely, skipping the genie fight. If that fight still did happen though, all three can catch Iago pretty quickly, and Death could then destroy the lamp. Also, let me explain why Death is even frontlining, in case you're unsure. His name isn't just Death, he doesn't mean it metaphorically or poetically, he's Death straight up. And if that's the case, kind of like Hercules in my last video, he's unkillable. Even when Puss put up a good fight, in their final fight, he didn't win. Puss outright says he knows he'll never defeat him, because Death was still in good shape and wanted to keep going, but saw no point because Puss had learned his lesson, so he lost interest in taking his life. As for Atlantica, the Shrek universe does have potions that can turn you into other mystical creatures, so maybe there is one that can turn them into mermaids. I don't think Death would need to drink it though. And Ursula wouldn't be able to match the team's combat prowess in a fight, and all three of them have dealt with magic users before. Oogie, similarly to Ursula, can't defeat any of them in combat. He would just get his sack sliced wide open. Hook would also lose to them because Death has years of fighting experience, and Puss has fought worse foes than Hook, while still being able to hold his own. Now with the heavy hitters like Riku, Maleficent, and Ansem, how would they fare? Death, on top of his combat skills, can get into the heads of his foes and throw them off and cause them to panic. With how easily Riku welcomed in the darkness and his arrogance when he was controlling it, Death could play on that and make him terrified to even fight him. Maleficent in both her forms would lose because Puss has fought many creatures larger than her, and he could troll her with the Spanish Splinter to cause her to writhe in pain while Death literally goes for the throat. Riku's second battle, now that Ansem has taken over, might not be intimidated by Death. But as far as we know, given the film anyway, Death won't tire or die. Even if Riku could put up a decent fight against all three, Death's stamina would be endless, unlike Riku's. So Death could protect Puss and Kitty while they hit Riku in the openings Death gives them. Now, Ansem in his first few stages wouldn't be an issue, and while he does get stronger in the later stages, he becomes immobile. Death could match him in strength again while Puss and Kitty attack him, so this team should be able to clear as well. Now we have have El Dorado, with our trio being Miguel, Tulio, and Altivo. Now at first glance, these guys don't look like much, but they are gods, or at least were decent at pretending to be ones. It is shown that they have some sword fighting skills, even though they may have just rehearsed this setup, it's still pretty good. They could maybe get through Traverse Town with their sword ability and Wonderland, as they could probably play the queen like a fiddle. Maybe even get the cards to help them take down the boss of that world. I don't think they could clear much after that. It's true they fought a giant stone statue, but they more just ran away from it rather than fought against it. And they defeated this thing by taking out the guy controlling it. It's not like these two turned around and Falcon punched it and then it fell apart. So Cerberus is a serious problem, and the same would go for Sabor and Stealth Sneak. Now, speaking of gods, that leads us into... yeah, I'd say that's a clear. Isn't one of the commandments, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's heartless? The B movie, no amount of memes is saving him. He dies. He dies, he's dead, he's gone, he gets swatted, he's dead. Okay, now we come to a high-flying team. We have Hiccup, Toothless, and Astrid. Now I did say I was taking these characters at their best, and while their younger selves are the more well-known versions, I think the adult versions would pack more punch when it comes to a fight. So for those who may not have seen these films, the main human characters are Vikings who learn how to coexist with dragons and ride around on them, which is as badass as it sounds. Now, being Vikings, Hiccup and Astrid have learned from a young age how to fight, and while Astrid was much better than Hiccup when we first meet them, Hiccup has become much better at it. And Hiccup comes with a limited edition flaming sword. They also wear armor made of dragon scales, which would protect them from enemy fire. Literally. I mean literal enemy fire.
I think you and I should...
Oh, gods no. We're nowhere near ready for that.
No, that's crazy.
Guess it doesn't apply to friendly fire though. These three can definitely clear Traverse Town and Wonderland. They should be able to clear Deep Jungle and Olympus as well. Cerberus's ranged attacks wouldn't do much with the armor they're wearing, and with Toothless flying through the air and moving so fast, Cerberus shouldn't be able to hit him. And with Hiccup riding on Toothless, he could slash away at Cerberus without worrying about a counterattack. The same thing would happen to Clayton and Stealth Sneak. Monstro is also an easy clear, not many issues for them in that world. Agrabah should be a clear because the sub-boss and Jafar don't have anything that would hard counter them, and Toothless would be too fast for Jafar to hit, so pre-Genie fight and the Genie fight would go well. And it's not like Iago is going to outfly Toothless. Atlantica is a hard skip unless Toothless is planning on changing his name to Breathless. The Halloween Town Heartless and Oogie would also be fair game for Hiccup and Astrid to mow down with their weapons, especially because Oogie's best fighting move is a little bitch slap. Damn, that's a strong bitch slap. Must have been channeling that Fresh Prince energy. As for Hook, he can't take both Hiccup and Astrid in a fight. Even though he is great at swordplay, both Hiccup and Astrid have been training to fight for years, and as full-grown adults, they would have been masters at their respective weapons. As for Riku, both normal and possessed Riku should lose to this team. Hiccup and Astrid have shown great combat feats and can time their hits precisely while jumping through the air and off of dragons going at high speeds, which Toothless would be doing here for them. Toothless can also trade blasts with Riku for ranged moves, with Hiccup and Astrid constantly bombarding him with frontal attacks. As for Maleficent's dragon form, I mean, come on. Not that they would ever want to, but spending their lives around dragons makes me think they would know how to take one down. Maleficent's fire may be an annoyance because it's not normal fire, so their armor may not be as effective, but Toothless could just pick them up and fly them around the arena away from her breath attacks. Finally, Ansem. This one, I think, could potentially go either way. I think the first few phases they definitely clear. As for the last ones, them being together makes them a strong team, but if Hiccup gets separated from Toothless and Astrid, and has to fight a big group of invisibles all on his own, Hiccup could be in trouble. I personally do believe, though, with the years he's been training, I think he can do it. But I wouldn't be opposed if someone said no either. After all three make it out, though, I think they defeat Ansem. Between the three of them applying pressure and Ansem not having a good way to hit Toothless, I think they take him down. Now it's big brain time with Megamind. The team that would be helping Megamind would be Minion because, I mean, come on, it's in his name. And his former adversary, Metro Man. So let's go over his teammates first. Minion is what he's called, a minion to Megamind, and also his friend. He's got access to all of Megamind's gadgets and can help him set up for big brain plays against the enemies they'll encounter. Metro Man is basically a less powerful Superman, but still very strong. He's got laser eyes, flight, and super strength. And I am waiting for somebody in the comments to say so, Homelander. Except Metro Man is nice. Now, just because Metro Man is that strong doesn't mean Megamind is going to fall behind in combat. Ansem may have the Heartless at his beck and call, but Megamind has his own army, the Brain Bots. And he's got a few. Megamind can swarm every group of Heartless and boss they go up against with these bots. Megamind can also fly with his jetpack and flying motorcycle thing. He's got an invisible car, a ray gun. He also invented a sort of ray shield that can protect him from incoming attacks when he wears it. He can also dehydrate things with his ray gun, and it can be used on organic things, so if he hits any of the villains with this, they're done. He also, funny enough, can demoralize his opponents when they are hit with a blast from his ray gun, where they basically become depressed and lose all motivation to do anything. Truly his most evil device. He can also make himself look like anybody with a hologram device. Somebody tell him to turn into Sora's mom because I must know. With an army at their back, all the ridiculous tech, and a mini Superman on their team, they're clearing everything. Remember the 1000 Heartless battle in Kingdom Hearts 2? Megamind is gonna make Ansem do that, except he's gonna lose. None of the villains have anything that can beat this team. Heck, Megamind on his own without Metro Man is still far more threatening than any of these villains. And if by some chance it got dicey, Megamind could also use a giant mech suit he made to beat the crap out of his adversaries. Traverse Town, Wonderland, Deep Jungle, Olympus, everything is getting cleared with ease, even Atlantica, since Megamind could easily create a device out of the components he's carrying on him to make something for him to breathe underwater. Or maybe he could just dehydrate the entire world. Even the heavy hitters lose easily to this team. Even though we've had others clear so far, this team is probably the strongest team in terms of pure firepower. Now let's get to the weakest team, other than the B-movie. Heck, I'll even give them a fourth member just to throw them a bone, and that's Alex, Marty, Melman, and Gloria. Sure, since they're animals, they could probably take out a few Heartless, and through various antics, they could probably clear Traverse Town and Wonderland. Cerberus is going to eat all four of them, if they even make it to him. And Clayton is gonna have some new animal skins he can wear. Arguably, the Penguins would have been a better group to discuss, but since these guys are the main characters, I went with them. But you guys can let me know how far do you think the Penguins would get. Now it's time for the main man himself, Shrek. In terms of pure combat ability, Shrek's best teammates would probably be Fiona and Dragon. It's weird not having Donkey, but these two add much more to the team. He can make waffles in the back for them. So what else do I need to say about this team? They're brute force incarnate. Shrek has wrestled knights, rescued a princess from a dragon-guarded castle, beat multiple magic beings, and did it with style. There is a reason he's as popular as he is. Fiona is also talented at combat and has even more technique than even Shrek does, with her displaying some high-level combat feats, like when she froze time to fix her hair. And Dragon is, well, a dragon. And having a dragon on your team is always great. And the best part is Shrek won't forget about the Iron Fleet. So Traverse Town is a definite clear. So are all the worlds in the first ring, if you want to call it a ring. Dragon would simply eat Clayton, and Cerberus would just be held down by Dragon while Shrek and Fiona wail on him. Monstro is easy, and just like I mentioned with Puss and his team, Shrek exists in a world with potions that turn you into different things, so they could probably turn into mermaids when they reach Atlantica. Hopefully Fiona doesn't knock Ariel out after what happened in Shrek 2. Oogie is cooked, and Shrek could just throw Hook overboard, or Dragon again eats him. Poor guy, first the crocodile, now a dragon. Riku is gonna get smacked around. While Shrek and Fiona may not possess amazing speed feats, Dragon can keep Riku on defense with her fire and melee attacks, which would open him up for Shrek to send him to the WWE Super Slam. Same goes for Maleficent, both in her human form and in her dragon form. It would just be her and Dragon trading blows, but Dragon would have the edge since Shrek and Fiona could get up on her back and start wailing on the back of her head until she's out cold. As for Ansem, I don't think it would be a good idea for Dragon to eat him. he could potentially cut her from the inside out. Instead, again, they should focus on melee combat and just weighing him down. Fiona and Shrek together could use combo attacks to do damage, while Dragon sprays fire everywhere to burn Ansem. I think the final phase might take a bit longer for them to succeed. It could get a little tricky when Ansem does his all-out attack, but I think Dragon should be able to cover Shrek and Fiona and soak up the hits to keep them safe. So I think this team clears as well. I think overall the DreamWorks characters have actually many characters that could go into combat and make it out without too much trouble. A lot of these characters are already accustomed to fighting, while when I did this with the Disney characters, many of the main characters could fight, but didn't have other characters who can match or bypass them in combat skills. So they were essentially one-man teams. DreamWorks seems to have characters that are more or less on par or slightly below their main characters, which ended up working out well for most of them in the end. So congratulations to the DreamWorks teams who cleared Kingdom Hearts 1. What do you guys think though? Obviously my opinion isn't the be-all end-all, so do you guys think some of them should have failed or succeeded? I look forward to reading your thoughts, and remember to let me know how far you think Skipper and the others would get. Thanks again for watching, and look forward to more Kingdom Hearts content like this in the future, so stick around by hitting that subscribe button to watch them as they come. It's always fun doing crossovers, and I'll never get tired of doing them. This was me, just nathing out. I hope each person watching this is having a fantastic and cozy winter, and I wish you nothing but the best for your upcoming holidays. If you made it to the end, I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you'll stick around for more videos to come. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.